What's your question? Caucasians? Okay. Let me show you something. So you're asking about, you see the breakdown, so you see the 12 tribes of the nation of Israel, right? All right. Do you know who the Israelites are? Or what are the Israelites? You say God's chosen people, right? So you're trying to say, is it everybody chosen or just the nation of Israel, right? And then we're going to see where the Caucasians fit into it. All right, give me Deuteronomy 28 and verse 15. Right, okay. And we'll get who those Gentiles are, right? All right, so let's read that.
Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse 15. But it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe to do all his commandments.
So God was speaking to the Israelites saying, if you didn't hearken to do all of my commandments, what was going to happen?
And his statutes, which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee.
So God said, so I hear you saying curses, right? So what do you know about the curses?
Basically, I know that God gave orders and statutes towards his chosen people. That if they wanted to be blessed and to continue to be blessed in the land, that they should follow the commands that God gave them. Basically, he said that if you go Deuteronomy 28, it talks about the blessings of obedience.
Okay, so you're familiar with God giving the commandments to a nation? Not everybody, right? And then if they kept those commandments, they'll be above all nations. If they didn't, they'll be in the bottom. So you're familiar with that? Do you remember that, them going over that? The curses to the Israelites? Right, so that's how we know. What happened? Because that's how we know who the Israelites are today.
Wow.
So who are the, so you ask, where are the white people when it comes to the Israelites? Like, are the white people Israelites? Is that your question? Okay, so you know they're not Israel. You just want to know, are they going to be a part of in the kingdom of heaven, ruling with the Israelites? Is that what you're requesting? I'm gonna get that for you. All right. So we all know who the Israelites are. You call yourself a Judite? You're a Judah? Okay, so you're an Israelite from the tribe of Judah. You said you're from the tribe of Judah as well. All right. So we all know that we're Israelites, right? Take a look at this sign, my brother. Right. So did this happen to everybody? That's a question for you, my brother. Did this happen to everybody? Transatlantic slave trade, sub-Saharan slave trade, taking your heritage taken away, bottom of society being sold on auction blocks, your children taken everywhere, right? I'm asking, did this happen to everybody? No. This only happened to who? The Israelites. Because you gotta understand, you see this right here? The conquistadors, the Spaniards, which are Caucasians as well, they came here and did the same thing to our Native American and Hispanic brothers because they were already here and they came here and took them back over there and back and forth. So this happened. You see these curses. This didn't happen to everybody, right? So it could be concerning. All right. So you see these images and these tragedies happening to one nation. I'm gonna get your question, my brother. I'm building up to it. Right. You good. I'm gonna show you why. If the Caucasians, if they have prosperity or they're gonna get the kingdom, because I'm gonna get that. So what I wanted to establish is God's chosen people and how he deals with them. All right, Amos. Let me get Amos 3:1.
Bring it out.
Right, so we talked about the curses and the breaking of God's commandments, right? And these tragedy things, they happened to the Israelites. And let's see if God was dealing with anybody else in the Old Testament. And then we're gonna get to the New. All right, read that.
Amos chapter 3 and verse 1. Hear this word that the Lord hath spoken against you, O children of Israel.
So who is God speaking to right here? The children of Israel. Okay, read.
Against the whole family.
Against only their family. Read on.
Which I brought up from the land of Egypt.
Who did God bring from the land of Egypt? Did he bring anybody else? All right, read on.
Saying, you only.
He says what?
You only.
If it says you only, right? Is that a word that meant for everybody or is it possessive? It's specific. So God says you what?
You only have I known of all the families of the earth.
Come on.
Therefore, I will punish you for all your iniquities.
So from that point of Moses until this point right here, God still hasn't changed of who he's going to punish for not keeping his commandments or who he's going to bless for keeping his commandments, right? He hasn't changed. There's no white man in there. There's no Chinese. Right. There's nobody there but who? The children of Israel. Yes, all right? And then so Malachi 3 and 6. Question, does God change? God does not change. All right, so now when we get to the New Testament, we got to see, did God ever give the commandments? Because that's what people will be saved from, right? Jesus Christ died for what? Our sins, right? Do you know what sin is? I'll get it for you, my brother. Do you know what sin is? Okay, sin is iniquity, but let's get exactly what sin is. Because what? In the New Testament, you hear, Christ died for, everyone's sins and different things like that. All right, read that.
1 John chapter 3 and verse 4.
How you doing, my sister? We're going over nationality. Come check this out. Come here real quick. We're going over nationality. Where do you see yourself in this sign? Would you call yourself an African American? Right, so you'll be from the tribe of Judah. Right, my brother right here asked the question. All right, where do the white people fit into into the kingdom, into the glory of God, right? So we're about to get to reasoning of why they're in it or why they're not into it, all right? So we're reading how God has only been dealing with Israel up until this point, right? And he says, read Amos 3:1 one more time. Hold that, read Amos 3:1. All right, because you got to hear this scripture, because God is dealing with a certain nation from the beginning of the Bible and to the end of the Bible. And we just want to get these key points out, all right? Read that.
Amos chapter 3 verse 1. Hear this word that the Lord has spoken against you, O children of Israel.
So these are the children of Israel, the so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. They are the children of Israel.
That's right.
Let's see if God was speaking with anybody else with that.
Against the whole family, which I brought up from the land of Egypt, saying, you only have I known.
He said what?
You only have I known of all the families of the earth. Therefore I will punish you for all your iniquity.
He says, I will punish you, only Israelites, for your iniquity, which is sin, right? And let's get exactly what sin is. So when Christ comes on the scene, then we can get more understanding of what he's saving who from. All right, read that.
1 John chapter 3 and verse 4. Whosoever committeth sin, transgresseth also the law. For sin is the transgression of the law.
Sin is the transgression of God's laws, the breaking of his laws, right? So who received this? 1 John is in the New Testament, right? Who received God's laws? Anybody else? It's just the children of Israel, right? Psalms 147. Psalms 147. Because we got to see, if sin is the breaking of the commandments and you never received these commandments to break, what are you being saved from? What are you being rescued from, right? Because if you get curses for sinning and Christ says, I'm going to bring you back to your glory because of your sin, who all has that pertain to, that sin? Only to the children of Israel, right? And I'm going to read that to you. Read this.
Psalm chapter 147, verse 19. He showeth his word unto Jacob.
That's exactly what I was saying. He showeth his words unto Jacob. Jacob, he changed his name to Israel, right? He's the progenitor of the 12 tribes of Israel. Read.
His statutes and his judgments unto Israel.
Read on.
He have not dealt so with any nation.
He has not dealt with any nation the way he dealt with Israel at all, right? So now let's get to the New Testament, right? Jesus Christ. A lot of people bring up John 3:16, right? You familiar with that scripture? Let's break that down. Get John 3:16, all right? But before we read that, let's get Matthew 15 and 24. Because we got to see, Christ, did he come and preach his own thing, right? Did Christ come and preach something different than what God was saying? No, right? So if Christ came and said something, that's what God wants. So let's see what Christ said out of his own mouth. Read that.
Matthew chapter 15, verse 24. But he answered and said, I am not sent, but unto the lost sheep of the house of Israel.
What does that mean, my brother? That verse right there. He says, I am not sent, but only to the lost sheep of the house of Israel.
Those people who don't know Christ, who don't have a relationship with Christ.
Let's hear. You said, what does that verse mean, my brother? All praises, sister. Did you hear that verse? What does it mean? Let's read it again one more time. All right, read it slower.
Matthew chapter 15, verse 24.
No.
But he answered and said, I am not sent.
Jesus Christ says, I'm not sent here. Read.
But unto the lost sheep of the house of Israel.
What does that mean? Jesus was only sent for the children of Israel.
That's right.
He said it himself. He was not sent for anybody else. But then the church will pull this scripture. Now I read John 3:16. So if we hear in one part of the Gospels, Jesus Christ is only sent for the Israelites, and then you hear a scripture like this, there has to be some contradictions in the Bible then. But there's not. It's just the people who taught you, they taught you wrong.
That's
All right, let's get this.
John chapter 3 verse 16. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him should not perish, but have everlasting life.
Right, so they'll read that and be like, see, God so loved the world, so whosoever believeth in him will have everlasting life. But who was talking right there? Get verse 1.
That's in Matthew?
No, this is John 3.
John?
Yes, who was talking right here in John 3, the third chapter?
Is that John?
Let's get it. I'm gonna get it for you. Get John 1. John 1. I mean, John 3 verse 1.
Your question was what? Will the other nations be in the kingdom?
No. I guess I was trying to figure out whether the Caucasians was grafted out on that. I was trying to figure out was they in the Gentiles.
Yes. Caucasians are Gentiles. 1 Ezra 8:69. Absolutely. Caucasians, so-called white people in the Bible, God calls them Edom. Right, Edomites. Watch this.
1 Ezra chapter 8 and verse 69.
Watch this.
The nation of Israel, the princes, the priests, and Levites have not put away from them the strange people of the land.
Strange people mean anybody outside of the 12 tribes, right? Read.
Nor the pollutions of the Gentiles.
Of who?
Of the Gentiles.
Watch this. Read.
To wit, of the Canaanites,
Africans.
Hittites,
Africans.
Pharisees,
Africans. Read.
Jebusites,
More Africans.
and the Moabites,
Those are the Chinese. Read.
Egyptians,
Africans.
and Edomites.
White people.
That's right.
God says that they are Gentiles. So when you see the 12 tribes of Israel, that's why you don't see them there, because they're not Israelites. You follow? But there's another scripture I want to read real quick. Give me Psalms 2 and 2. There's another scripture I want to read, and I want you to explain this. I got to make sure you understand what God is saying, because the officer said Christ was only brought to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. Watch this.
Psalm chapter 2 and verse 2.
I want you to listen real close, all right? Come on.
The kings of the earth set themselves, and the rulers take counsel together against the Lord and against his anointed, saying.
So it says the rulers of the world, meaning what? All the nations outside of Israel, all of their kings, they come together to plot against Israel. Right? Read.
Saying, let us break their bands asunder.
They say, let us break their brotherhood, meaning what? Let's divide and conquer them and scatter them throughout the whole earth. Read.
And cast away their cords from us.
Read.
He that sitteth in the heavens shall laugh. The Lord shall have them in derision.
God says because they destroyed us, because they plotted and came up with the transatlantic slave trade, the sub-Saharan slave trade, to scatter us throughout the four corners of the earth, God says he's going to have them in derision for destroying the people of God.
Right.
Read.
Then shall he speak unto them in his wrath.
And his what?
In his wrath.
When Christ comes back, who's he coming to destroy? Who? Who he coming to destroy? Huh? Who else? Not just them. Who else had us in slavery? African nations had us in slavery.
Right.
Arab nations had us in slavery. Our enemies. He's coming to deliver us from our enemies.
Right.
Read.
Then shall he speak unto them in his wrath, and vex them in his sore displeasure.
And vex them, the other nations, with his sore displeasure. Meaning what? His hatred for them. Read.
Yet have I set my king upon my holy hill of Zion.
That's Christ. God set his king to do this. All of this carnage, all this bloodshed against the nations. Read.
I will declare the decree. The Lord hath said unto me, thou art my son. This day have I begotten thee.
Read.
Ask of me, and I shall give thee the heathen.
The who?
The heathen.
Heathen and Gentile, my brother, one and the same. Right. The heathen nations and the Gentiles. Watch this. Read the verse again, then I'll get your question. Read.
Ask of me, and I shall give thee the heathen for thine inheritance.
You see that? God says the heathen are going to be the slaves of the Israelites. Right. When you inherit something, that means what? You gain a possession. Read that verse again.
Ask of me, and I shall give thee the heathen for thine inheritance.
Read.
And the uttermost parts of the earth for thy possession.
Read.
Thou shalt break them with a rod of iron.
God says, Christ, he's going to give Christ, how you doing, my sister? God says he's going to give Christ to break the nations with a rod of iron.
Right.
Did y'all know that? Yep. Did y'all know that every nation who came against the children of Israel are going to get beat down with a rod of iron when Christ comes back?
That's right.
Y'all didn't know that, did you? Give me Zechariah 2:6.
Yep.
Because you asked about the Edomites. I'm going to show you about the Edomites specifically. Specifically, meaning just them. Watch this. Zechariah 2:6 says, what are we teaching? We're teaching our true nationality according to the Bible.
Wow.
We're not African American. We're not Jamaican. We are the Israelites according to the Bible. If you got questions, look, you're like, wait a second, what you saying? If you got any questions, sis, ask. We're going to show you out this Bible. I'm telling you. I was answering one of his questions. He was asking us why the Caucasians ain't on this sign. God calls them Gentiles, okay? The chosen people, they're the people of the book. They're the Israelites. They're not Gentiles. Anybody outside of this is Gentiles. So now we're getting more specific about Caucasians. Watch this.
Zechariah chapter 2 and verse 6. Ho, ho, come forth and flee from the land of the north.
The land of the north right here is talking about North America. This is a prophecy for the last days. Right. God says, come forth, Israelite man, Israelite woman. Do what? Is it talking about getting a plane and flying? No. It's saying come out of the doctrines and philosophies and the ways of America. Read.
Saith the Lord, for I have spread you abroad.
God spread us abroad. How did he do that? By slavery. That's how God spread us abroad, because he got angry with us for breaking his commandments. Read.
As the four winds of the heaven.
We're not just here in America. You go to Australia, we're there. You go to Europe, we're there. There's remnants of us on the continent of Africa to this day. Read.
Saith the Lord, deliver thyself.
Do what?
Deliver thyself.
From who?
O Zion, that dwelleth with the daughter of Babylon.
We dwell right now with the daughter of Babylon. In history, this particular nation, the Edomite nation, what did they do? When the Babylonians took us as slaves, they sat there and was like, you know what? We're going to do the same thing. During the Grecian Empire, they took us as slaves. During the Roman Empire, they took us as slaves. And when America reigned, what did they do? They took us as slaves again. Hence the name, the nickname, the daughter of Babylon. They're not ancient Babylon, but they're the daughter, because they hold on to the same practices as the actual nation itself. Read on.
For thus saith the Lord of hosts, after the glory hath he sent me unto the nations which spoiled you.
You see that? The nations which spoiled us. All nations had a part in our captivity. I want you to understand this, because we always, what about them? To hell with them.
That's right.
God said that they destroyed us, my brother.
Right.
Care about us. Care about our own people. Read.
For he that toucheth you,
he that touches the Israelite man, you may not think you special. God says you're everything.
That's right.
Read.
toucheth the apple of his eye.
You see that thing right there? God says, because they touched y'all and wronged you, he going to destroy them.
Right.
So, I hope that answers your question, why they not here on this sign.
We used to scream black power while heroin was pushed. But at the end of the day, nothing's in vain. IUIC has been given a vision. The tents of Judah has risen. Many has attempted the mission, minor murmuring, omitting, and missing the mark. Just reading that he had the flame of fire in his eyes gave us the spark. We on Paul's mission. We out on the road, purple and gold, from Mexico, Cuba, Haiti, Ghana, Sierra Leone. 144,000 boots banging, concrete crackling. These are our men repented at heart. The scriptures is proof. IUIC, we deliver the truth.